Andrew, this isn't one to play around with, right?
Definitely not, and I come bearing just the slightest good news, and that's that Hurricane Dorian now down to a Category 4, still a major hurricane. Yeah, Jamie, some of those roofs that you just talked about in Port Wentworth, well, I found them, and they are right here, and look what they did to some of these trees. They shaved it like a razor, that metal going right against that bark. It has just skinned those clean. The damaging winds along the coast could see wind gusts 70 to 80 miles an hour. 80 is going to be an extreme outlier at this point. That's going to be on those exposed barrier islands, not much slowing them down, but 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts not out of the question right along the coastline. Within the first 30 minutes of the flight, the first drop zone already deployed in the atmosphere in front of Hurricane Florence. This is going to be a process repeated 26 more times throughout the course of this flight. A tornado emergency right now in the city of Albany. Part of the town already has been hit. Damage reports already coming in. Seek shelter. Watch this on your phone. Do not stick by a TV. You need to get into a shelter position now. One of the things that we're worried about here, rip currents with this onshore flow. The beach right now, not too rough. A beautiful morning out here, but something that we're going to be watching here over the next few days is going to be the potential for some beach erosion. Travel-wise, we are going to see a little bit of moisture on the roadways there for Savannah to Atlanta, of course, on 16. That would be going up to Macon and then north on 75, but 95, I've got green lights for you guys on 95 from Savannah to Charleston and to Jacksonville. Some clouds, but no rain. So we're looking good out there for the next few days here. We are going to see warm temperatures up here on Wednesday. How about mid 70s for your Wednesday? Even could see some folks getting close to 80 over in Hinesville. It's possible that we get up to about 78 or so. It's going to be pretty warm, but on Thanksgiving Day itself also looks like just a gorgeous day. This is going to be after that front comes on through. Not seeing the rain with that, but we are seeing temperatures starting off in the low to mid 50s, depending on when you get up. Probably early to get the food ready, but then after that, we're going to have just a gorgeous, gorgeous couple of days back in the lower 70s, but a second cold front arrives. Right now, it looks like it's going to be Sunday, bringing in some cool, cool air to start out December. Pressure going up, that's a good sign that it's weakening, but instead of just going north, it's going north-northwest. So it is making its turn now here to southwest Georgia. Future radar shows this going up the west coast of Florida as we go into tomorrow morning. Look at all the heavy rain where you see those reds, those oranges, just tropical downpours coming our way. We're almost certainly going to have these tropical storm force winds tomorrow. That's a 1-minute average of at least a 39-mile-an-hour wind and above. Gusts are going to be higher than that. Think of it as a weather balloon that actually goes down instead of going up. Now, depending on the course path and the strength of the storm, they will determine how many to drop directly into the storm through this tube during each flight. This could actually be the worst flood in U.S. history. 2 more feet of rain, could fall feet, not inches, over in South Texas. Impacts from the storm go out from not just the eye, but well out from it. And we're going to see some very heavy rain from these bands that are right now wrapping around the Atlantic coast of Florida.
Line with the Hurricane Hunters today as they try to collect information and data on the track of Hurricane Florence.
As you know, that data is crucial to improve the National Hurricane Center's forecast. Andrew Gorton takes us on a flight into the storm.
As Major Hurricane Florence continues approaching the East Coast, the NOAA Hurricane Hunters are collecting data samples from their upper air analysis plane, the Gulfstream 4. With every hurricane flight comes new data on how Hurricane Florence is evolving over the Atlantic Ocean. Today's mission started with a briefing at 12:30 in the morning. We boarded the flight at 1 and the crew got right to work.
So y'all ready in the back? Ready? Release side now. Out on 1. Happy channel 1.
Within the first 30 minutes of the flight, the first drop zone already deployed in the atmosphere in front of Hurricane Florence. This is going to be a process repeated 26 more times throughout the course of this flight. Instead of collecting data from the ground up like a weather balloon, this data starts coming in at 45,000 feet down to the ocean surface. The crew even let me release a few drop sounds, which began sending back data from the storm instantaneously.
And they transmit the really important data that the computer models need, which is things like pressure, temperature, humidity, wind direction, wind speed.
This plane is also equipped with a unique set of radars in the nose and tail. This allows NOAA to see inside the storm like a CAT scan, which is especially useful during the night. In addition to the Gulfstream 4, NOAA also uses a P-3 airplane that is commonly seen flying into the eye of storms, collecting lower-level atmospheric analysis. All of this data is collected and ingested into models that will improve the forecast of Florence's path and intensity.
It gives us the in situ kind of measurements with a high accuracy that really defines how the model initiates. You won't find any other aircraft like this in the world, and there's a lot of great people too.
The NOAA Hurricane Hunters will continue flying missions into and above Florence until Florence gets close enough to the coastline that surface observations can take over the forecast. For WTOC, I'm meteorologist Andrew Gorton.
Military veterans struggle while adjusting to civilian life. For one Army Ranger, fishing became more than a hobby, it saved his life. Now he wants to use his love of fishing to help other veterans battling PTSD. Our Andrew Gorton met with him to hear his story.
You can do whatever you want, and that's kind of what I want to show people.
That positive attitude took some time to redevelop after Jimmy Armour returned home from 5 tours in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq, where he suffered multiple concussions as an Army Ranger.
Was depressed, succumbed to alcoholism, contemplated suicide, which a lot of guys with PTSD do. I'm diagnosed with PTSD. One thing that always made me happy is I was working the deck of a boat, and I loved helping people catch fish. Good bait, guys, good bait. Very good.
Jimmy capitalized on that newfound passion by creating a fishing charter out of Tybee Island, using it to provide veterans a chance to heal their own minds.
That's what we came to do. Almost like a counseling session. It's like you get out there, you get relaxed, you're having a good time, you're in a confined area with some people on a boat, and you talk about things, maybe some things that have never been addressed, shoot some ideas back and forth about some coping mechanisms and kind of go from there. Better than a cup of coffee, baby. I have some people that I've brought out, that have some PTSD issues, depression issues. Every single one of them is the same reaction.
Talking while catching everything from barracuda to snapper can be a good conversation starter, but the real healing begins when the boat returns to the dock.
Call somebody. Go to a counselor. I go to a counselor every week. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a big stigma, especially in the gunfighting world and the military, to where you don't talk about it, you don't share your feelings, you don't go to a counselor. Don't do that. Don't put yourself through it, and don't put your loved ones through it.
According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, up to 20% of veterans who participated in Operations Iraqi and Enduring Freedom have been diagnosed with PTSD. A number Captain Jimmy Armour hopes he can reduce one cast at a time.
They get out there and it's just peace. It's like nothing's wrong, at least for that little bit of time.
On Tybee Island, Andrew Gorton, WTOC News.
And Captain Jimmy says he is easy to get a hold of if you know a veteran interested in going fishing. You can find that information to his company, American Fishing Charters, on WTOC.com. Also, you can find beneficial information about PTSD and ways to get help in our article.